Hi everyone, it's another year and that means it's another recap video. This is really just a personal diary of what I've been up to for the last year. You are welcome to watch and listen along as I talk about what I've done over the last year. Don't expect to learn too much from this video. This is really just so I can remember what I did in 2021. It's been quite a productive year. Obviously it's been lockdown here in the UK for quite a lot of the year. The beginning of 2021 was quite stressful and I wasn't actually doing much in terms of creating videos or doing kind of creative stuff with this design that. And I talked about this in some of my earlier videos in 2021, basically because I do a lot of freelancing. The platforms that I use, they were affected during COVID. I think they changed some of their algorithms and basically I ended up earning less money through those platforms, which meant that I had to kind of go out there and look for more work, and it basically meant that I had no time whatsoever for this design that. But thankfully towards the beginning of summer, things started to pick up again and I could concentrate on this design that. And the last half of the year, I've been able to really focus on this design that and Drift Deeper on my other channel as well. So first of all, we'll talk about the music releases that I put out, because they are always quite big projects. They take a lot of time. And it's really kind of my main creative output in terms of being an artist and a designer for the year. So I was able to get 3 cassettes out and I also did a vinyl release. I think in 2020 I said that I wanted to get 4 cassette releases out and 1 vinyl release. We nearly hit that goal, which I'm quite happy about. Releases 6 and 7 were releases that I finally was able to incorporate hot foil stamping, and 6 I even was able to incorporate debossing into the design as well. And I really like being able to combine all of the processes and skills that I've learned along the way. It was really nice to be able to finally have some artwork that kind of contained everything that I had learned. The vinyl release was going to be actually 200 copies. It was going to be a full pressing. It was going to be distributed by another company. But because of COVID and Brexit, basically it was just going to be very expensive. It wasn't even very clear if it was actually going to be able to be shipped to the UK for me to sell on Bandcamp as well. So we scrapped the vinyl. We ended up doing a lathe cut version of 50 copies, which is quite nice because it was a lot cheaper. I think it was a third of the price of doing an actual full production run of 200 vinyl. Obviously I only cut 50, so that's why it was cheaper, but yeah, it's nice to be able to still do vinyl and still not have it that much of a huge investment. And then obviously, I've been doing the bi-weekly shows on Drift Deeper and they have been going really well. Always have a lot of fun with those shows. Get a lot of amazing Patreon support through there and obviously through the YouTube membership on my other channel, Drift Deeper. Things have been going really well with that. I'm really happy. But let's talk about the projects that I did for this design that. So we've got the fixture plate for the CNC. That turned out very well. I've still got some broken taps in the fixture plate. I did read a comment that I can actually dissolve those taps with some solution because aluminium does not react to that, and it's a really easy way to get the taps out. So I might try and do that. To be honest with you though, the other thing that I bought for the fixture plate was a Saunder Machine Works mod vise, and that has been amazing. It will allow me to pretty much fix anything I want onto the table. I can easily move from clamping, a block of aluminium to then switching it to sheet metal. You can machine all the way through it because it only clamps onto a tiny part of it and it's elevated from the fixture plate. So I really do love that mod vise. I finally bit the bullet. I was trying to figure out ways of doing it myself. I was trying to use Mighty Byte fixturing and creating fixture plates, but honestly, just a mod vise, it pretty much is what it says. It's modular. You can really adapt it to any size of material that you're working with. It's actually very quick and easy to install as well. I've got a full tutorial on how I set that up as well. I think that if I bought the mod vise before I actually did the fixture plate, I probably would have saved myself a lot of hassle. The fixture plate, I ended up, drilling 100 holes. I tapped by hand over 100 holes in that fixture plate. Really, the mod vise, it only requires a double row of holes, and you can then just position it however you want in terms of length across that fixture plate. And it does pretty much all of the fixturing I need. Yeah, I think I could have massively have reduced my workload by literally just having a fixture plate that will accommodate the mod vise in terms of its width and its length along the table. Other projects that we built was the screen printing table, which has been a really good upgrade, much needed. You can see it behind me here. This is the screen print table. It's adjustable. It uses aluminium extrusion. It is a big upgrade from the wooden fixed width that I was using previously. This uses gas struts as well, so I don't need counterweights on the back of it. The only thing that kind of annoys me with this screen printing setup is that it's a bit too big for what I need to do. When I was originally planning this, I kind of had these grand schemes of printing A1 posters and those kind of things. I have yet to do an A1 poster. I haven't got an A1 screen yet. The biggest I've gone up to is A2, and I think that is probably the biggest I'm going to go up to. I'm not really an artist, so I don't, have prints that I sell regularly. A lot of the stuff I do is just through Natural Expressions, which just ends up being a tiny cassette cover. I do want to sell my own artwork, but I need to actually kind of produce artwork. I need to get good at producing artwork and drawing again. And maybe in the future I will end up doing A1 prints, but they're so big. It takes up a lot of space storing A1 paper. The ink and all of the materials that are involved in making A1, everything is just much more expensive because you're just using much more. And I really think that, if I would have just thought about it probably realistically and realized I'm probably only going to be printing A3 and A2, I could have just made this table so much smaller. I mean, this is 1500 by 1000 millimeters. So it can print even bigger than A1. It can print A0. It can print even bigger than A0, I think. So it is a bit of an overkill, and it really does take up quite a lot of space in this room. I mean, if I had a nice little A2 screen printing table, I could put it in the corner of my room and it would take up hardly any space. I don't actually do screen printing that often. At the moment, I only do screen printing when I'm doing the releases. And as you can see, in 2021, I've done 3 releases and a vinyl. So I've screen printed 4 times this year. It's not that much. It takes up a lot of space. So that is the only annoying thing about the screen printing table. But I really do like it when I use it. And the aluminium version is definitely a good upgrade. I would recommend going with this setup if anyone is thinking of building their own. Another upgrade that turned out really well, and it was very, very cheap, that is the Anycubic extruder upgrade. That is a dual gear extruder. It cost me £19. The biggest issue that I had with that machine is when you're printing PETG, just that first layer, I really had to increase the flow. I think maybe because just over time the nozzle has just got more and more clogged. But once I put that on there, the output of the filament through the nozzle would increase so much. It just has made the prints just much better, basically. The quality of the prints, the consistency of the extraction is just much better. So I'd highly recommend that install. I've got a video. I'll put links to all of these videos that I'm talking about in the description so you can take a look at them in more detail. And staying on the topic of 3D printers, I've got another one sitting next to me here. This is 99% finished now. This is the Voron 0.1. This is the LDO kit. I've finished building it. I'm still waiting for the top hat to come from the person who is 3D printing these parts for me out of ABS. There's been a bit of a delay, and that's why I haven't got a video out on this build yet. I'm just waiting to get this top hat built and finished, and I can do the review of it. But yeah, I've got it all set up. I've printed a few parts of it on PETG. It is an amazing machine. I absolutely love this. It's a little bit more expensive than the Anycubic, so you'd expect it to print good. But yeah, just the speed it can print at, the consistency, just how quiet it is. I love the design of it. I thought building it yourself was going to be a big headache, but actually if you get something quality like the LDO kit, it's actually been really easy to build. I'm going to do a full review of this probably in 2022 when I get the thing fully built, so stay tuned for that. This year also managed to shoot with the Mamiya RZ67. I went on a trip to Berlin in November. It was really nice to get the camera out again. I haven't shot with it since the start of COVID. The last place I went to was Miami, and that was in March 2020, which was just before COVID started. And I actually ended up not taking any pictures on that trip, and I'm kind of gutted now because, if I would have known that COVID would have happened and I probably wouldn't have gone on any trips, I wouldn't have really done much photography until last month. I probably would have taken some pictures in Miami. I managed to get through, I think, about 5 rolls of film in 8 days, so that was pretty good going. Usually I'm very conservative with how I shoot. I don't feel I got any amazing images. I think my trip to Taipei, I got some really nice shots that I was very happy with. I think from this trip, maybe only 2 or 3 shots I was really happy with, and something that I would maybe kind of like consider printing or, you know, putting up on a wall or something like that. But overall, it was a really good trip. Sticking with the Mamiya, I managed to fix one of the issues that I'd been having with one of the film backs. I've had this issue of film skipping when I'm using the lever. It's only been happening on one film back. I took it apart and I managed to find the issue with it. I managed to 3D print a little bushing, which has fixed the issue. So now I've got 2 film backs which work perfectly fine, which I'm very happy about. This year I finally got around to adding a good Fogbuster setup for my CNC. I've never really been that happy with the systems that I've been using. I've been using like cheap ones from Amazon, and because they're not pressurized in any way, I couldn't really get consistent coolant flow. So I decided to try and build a Fogbuster, and I've just recently put a video on the build on the channel, so you can take a look at that. Really happy with how that come out. It works much better than the cheaper systems that I was using, and it's pretty cheap to make yourself. There are still some tweaks that I would like to do with it. I would like to add maybe some needle valves so I've got finer control over it. I would really like to add solenoid valves as well, so I can kind of automatically control the coolant on and off while I'm doing machining. I think that would be pretty cool. But for now, it does the job. Next, let's talk about some of the purchases that I made in 2021. And these have really improved the way that I do things. So the biggest one was probably the Festool dust extractor that I bought. I bought the MIDI, the newest version. It cost me almost £500. I was using just a very cheap vacuum cleaner that I got from, I think it was Robert Dias. It's like £20. It has no filtration on it whatsoever. When I'm using the CNC, I would use it to suck up all of the wood chips and all of the metal. Because it's got no filter on the back of it, the exhaust on the vacuum cleaner is just kicking out wood dust. And often after hours, you know, working in that utility room where I've got the CNC, I would come back in and it would still smell like wood dust. So I knew that I was breathing all of this crap in. So that's why I decided, you know, can't really put a price on your health. I decided to invest the money and get a decent dust extractor that will actually capture the dust when I'm doing work in that small utility room. I haven't done a video review of it. There are lots of video reviews on YouTube that you can find of it. So far, it's been amazing. You really can't fault it. I've never needed to even put it on maximum power at all. I have it on like the 1 or 2 setting. I think it goes up to 5, and it gives me ample enough suction to even suck up steel chips when I'm doing drilling and things like that. So yeah, it's a really good dust extractor, as you would expect from Festool and for the price that I paid. Another much needed addition to my utility room and my kind of machining capabilities this year was a drill press. I'd been using a handheld drill for a long time to do all of my drilling. It was a complete pain in the ass to do anything that was accurate, especially to do stuff in metal. I managed to find a StartRite Mercury Mark II on eBay, very, very close to me. And yeah, I bought it on eBay, got it delivered, and it's been great so far. It's just amazing to have a drill press. I've used it so many times. It's such a worthwhile bit of machinery to have in your workshop, especially when, you know, I'm drilling in aluminium. Before I would try to do it, all of my holes and my pockets on the CNC. The CNC that I've got is really not made for drilling, especially deep drilling into metal. Now I can just drill little pilot holes on the CNC, take it over to the drill press, and I can just make all of my big holes on that, and it really does save a lot of time. And you'll just find yourself using it so much, is what I found anyway. So yeah, really, really worthwhile purchase that was. Another big purchase I got this year was an upgrade to the lights that I use on YouTube. I've got a SL150 Mark II version. I was using the SL60, and I never really found that to have enough output. I usually use 2 layers of diffusion. I usually have an umbrella, and then I've just got kind of like a big sheet hanging from the ceiling. For 2 layers of diffusion, the 60-watt version just wasn't powerful enough to give me enough exposure. The 150 gives me a decent amount of light behind 2 layers of diffusion. So as you can see, yeah, it lights up the room, lights up me quite nicely. Another purchase this year has been the Knipex pliers. I was watching the Clow42 channel, and he mentioned these these pliers slash adjustable wrenches, but the way that they clamp parts is they stay parallel because they've got this pivoting system. These have been amazing because they really do replace adjustable spanners, which are very annoying because they always lose their position. They're not very tight when you're doing up nuts and bolts, and they also replace pliers. Now, I've used these quite a lot recently when I'm dealing with all of the air compressor parts. When I was using pliers, because they grip onto it like that, you know, I'd often slip on the nut and you end up kind of ruining the edges of the nut. But this is really cool. It just clamps really nice and tightly. It's parallel, so it doesn't ever slip. It's very easy to adjust it to the size that you need. I mean, look how big this thing can clamp up to. And it goes all the way down to the smallest size. Made in Germany, expensive, but very high quality, will last you a lifetime. I would like to have a set of these, but I think this one will probably do me for everything that I need, but highly recommended. Now let's talk about stuff around my house that I've bought that have improved my quality of life. So first of all, I bought a new coffee machine. I broke my Gaggia Classic espresso machine. I was looking for a good replacement. I didn't want something with a lot of parts to it because it just requires a lot of maintenance. I come across these Flair, which are manual press espresso machines, and ends up buying the Flair Pro 2. And it's amazing. I've been really impressed with the quality of the coffee that it makes. I know this has nothing to do with what I usually talk about in this channel, but yeah, if you're looking for a cheap quality coffee machine, it does require a little bit of work every single morning when I drink my coffee, but I kind of like the hands-on approach to it. You know, taste-wise, it's just as good as my Gaggia Classic, which I think is about £500 brand new. Another thing we've invested in is, if you've seen any of my Drift Deeper shows, you would have seen our indoor houseplant collection has slowly been growing. This is all thanks to my partner Lakshmi. She has bought them all. I'm too lazy to do it, but I'm really happy that she did because it's really nice to have plants in the house, especially during lockdown. You don't get out as much, and we've kind of got an entire wall dedicated to houseplants at the moment. Fingers crossed they're going to survive through winter. Our room doesn't get a lot of light in the daytime, but looks like they're holding up so far. And yeah, they're just really nice to look at every single morning. We come down, we have a coffee, and we just sit there and look at the plants and we just chat, and it's really nice. And the biggest improvement in my productivity and just living in a house is just getting things more organized. I am absolutely terrible, as you can probably see from the mess of this room. I'm just terrible at keeping things clean. Luckily, Lakshmi, my partner, will force me, whenever she has time off work, she will force me to start trying to organize my space in this house, because I take up pretty much 90% of the free space in this house, and it just gets very, very cluttered very quickly with the amount of things that I'm working on. So the biggest improvement this year has been a few things that I've bought. So first of all, it's been wall-mounted tripod arms. These are amazing. Now, how I've worked in the past is I usually have a tripod for the camera, I have a tripod for the light, I have a tripod for the diffusal. So I've got 3 tripods on the floor. They're pretty big tripods, they take up a lot of floor space. I've tripped over things, I've knocked things over. Now I'm just getting things organized. I've got my camera now mounted to an adjustable boom arm that goes onto the wall, and I've bought 2 more of these, and I've got one downstairs in my utility room. Now, it's even more important that I have floor space in the utility room because it is a tiny space. And when I've got a camera tripod, I've got a light tripod, I just have no space to work whatsoever, and it's really annoying. So these have been amazing because it just gets the tripod on the wall essentially. So you don't need anything on the floor. And I'm just going to buy as many as I can, really. I kind of want 10. I just want them on every single wall that I end up working on or that I need a light on. They're really good. They're quite expensive. At the moment, they're like £70 on Amazon. I do not think they're worth that much. I always just keep an eye on when they come in used or when they drop in price. I've paid around £30 for each one so far. I think for that price, they're pretty good. They are very easy to install, just 4 screws into the wall. And yeah, you can really adjust it anyhow you want. And the last thing with organization is just getting a permanent spot for all of my stuff. So now I've got one little section of the wall, you can't see it, it's just out of frame, but it's just basically got loads of 3D printed hooks on it, and it is just dedicated to putting tripods and lights on. And yeah, I've got little things like some IKEA pegboards there. Downstairs as well, I've kind of improved the pegboards. I've got some baskets to put things in, stuff like that. My room is still a mess. I really do need a place to put everything. Once I've got a permanent place to store it, I find that, I always end up putting it back to that place, and it just helps it to stop just laying around. Yeah, that has definitely been the biggest improvement to my productivity and just my kind of peace of mind when I'm at home working, is just to get stuff organized, get things printed, get little hooks, just stick it on a wall. Anything we're using, tripods where it's taking up a lot of floor space, just get it mounted onto the wall, get it mounted onto the ceiling. It will just make your life much easier. Also, another thing in 2021 that I'm really happy that I've started to do, and that is to learn music production. I've been, obviously obsessed about music. I run a music channel for many, many years. I've never had the willpower to actually push myself to start understanding music production. It is really confusing and it is very, very difficult to learn. But this year, I've got an Elektron Digitakt, which I've been playing around with. And I've also started to learn Ableton. I've finally got my head around Ableton. And I've been playing around with some hardware synths. I am making absolute garbage at the moment, and I expect to be making garbage for the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully I will stick with it and I'll actually be able to make some music. I would really love to be able to make some dub techno that sounds good. But that is a big step for me, just kind of like starting to get my head around it and actually learn the software and music production. So that's 2021 wrapped up. I haven't got any complaints. I'm healthy, I'm happy. All my friends and family are healthy and happy. So yeah, let's move on to 2022. What are my plans? If I can get 3 cassette releases and another vinyl, I think that would be amazing. If that can just be my target for my music creative output every single year, that would be really good. I would really like to start printing some artwork. I think I've said this before as well in other videos, but yeah, I really do want to screen print more. I really want to do printmaking more, but I just kind of don't find the time to do it. I'm trying to think of ways that I can push myself to stick to drawing and creating artwork. So in 2022, I want to build some small habits that are going to help me to achieve that goal of being able to exercise the creative side of my brain a little bit more. One thing that I'm trialing is I've got an iPad Pro and I'm sketching on that. Before I would do my sketching on paper, and then I could basically never be bothered to take a picture of it, take it onto the computer, trace it on the computer, and then print it off as a film positive to then screen print it. So I thought, why not skip that step of drawing it on paper and just doing it digitally? And this is why I'm trialing the iPad Pro, because when I was at university and I was looking to get into doing more illustration, basically the only things that were really available was the Wacom tablets, and I've had a Wacom tablet before. I never really got my head around the whole drawing on the tablet and looking up at the screen. I know that it does take some practice to get used to it. I didn't really kind of give myself enough time to get used to it, and therefore I just kind of was turned off of doing that sort of drawing. And then there was the things like the Cintiqs, where you can actually see what you're drawing on the screen. They were really expensive when I was at university. Now, I've seen that you've got things like Procreate, you've got Illustrator on the iPad Pro, and I've seen the Apple Pencil. I think it has 2000 levels of pressure sensitivity now, which is pretty much the same as the Intuos Wacom tablets that I was using a few years ago. So, the capabilities are pretty much the same. And honestly, I think anything above 2000 levels of pressure sensitivity, are you really going to realize it? I don't think you are. So it seems like it's more than enough for what I need, which is just incredibly basic drawing. So building these small habits and exercising the creative side of my brain is really what I want to focus on in 2022. What I'm going to do is every single night I will set aside basically an hour, which will be dedicated to either drawing on my iPad Pro, or I will be doing music production. And those are the two things I really want to kind of get better at in 2022. These little small habits, they're really, really valuable. The goal that I set myself this year was to meditate every single day, and I've pretty much stuck to it. I don't do the weekends. I just basically meditate in the weekdays. And I found that just having those 2 days off of something that I don't have to think about doing, it really helps to keep me on track. and just setting it as just a little small task, 10 minutes of meditation every single day. In the past, when I've tried to do meditation, I've done 10 minutes. I've started off doing 2 minutes, then I've gone up to 5 minutes, then I've done 10 minutes, then I've tried to do half an hour every single day, and it just becomes unmanageable for me personally. I just don't have enough time to do it, which I know is bad, but it's just the case. And then I just give up on it and I stop doing it. But this year, I just set myself, just do it. Doesn't matter how long you end up doing it for, just do it every single weekday. And over time, it will become a habit. And I'm happy now that I've been doing it for over a year now, pretty consistently. And it's something that I don't even have to think about anymore. I don't have to kind of push myself to do it. It really is an automatic thing that I do just before I eat lunch. I always do it at lunchtime. And now it's, it feels strange to have my lunch without meditating before. So I'm really happy that it's kind of got to that stage now where it is literally a habit. And I'm pretty confident I will probably just continue to do this for the rest of my life now. And in 2022, that's what I want music production and drawing to be like. I want it to just be a thing that I don't even have to think about doing anymore. Because I do feel that I've kind of lost a little bit of that creative side of my brain, where I'm just kind of constantly working on these kind of more technical projects. I'm just not exercising that kind of imagination anymore. I'm not kind of like seeing things in my head that I want to draw and sketch. I'm always just like kind of thinking of how I can solve problems or how I can design products. I think that's what's caused me to, get further and further away from printmaking and making art. And it's just something that I love. I just really love to look at printed medium. I love to look at art, and it's really what I would like to do as a hobby. So that's going to probably be the biggest thing. I don't really have any huge projects that I want to complete in 2022. Really, it's just about these small habits and being consistent with them, and then hopefully having some sort of outcomes from them. It'd be nice to be able to print some artwork. It'd be nice to be able to master a specific software within music production, or maybe to get my head around some sort of bit of hardware, Eurorack or whatever it is. So yeah, this has gone on for far too long. I think that this is enough of me waffling on. Hopefully you have enjoyed the content that I've been creating in 2021. I'm really happy that this channel continues to grow. I get amazing messages from everyone. So thank you for anyone that has liked, subscribed, or commented on any of my videos. It really does mean a lot. Thank you most of all to the Patreon supporters. I can't believe you're stuck around. You're absolutely amazing. I can't promise there's going to be too much going on with Patreon, but your support is absolutely amazing, and it really does help to go towards doing all of these projects and keeping this channel running. I hope your 2021 hasn't been too bad. I hope everyone is safe and well. This is going to be the last video of 2021. I'm going to my parents for Christmas for a few days, and then it is my birthday shortly after that, and then it's New Year's, so I'm probably not going to get much more work done for the rest of the year. But stay tuned, 2022 is going to be a lot of fun, as it has been for 2021. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will catch you all later.